All right, we can begin. I'll record it for those students that aren't able to attend. I believe we had a few that were not able to come to this meeting from prior arrangements. So we'll go ahead and start and record, and then I'll post it on Blackboard afterwards. If you all saw in the email announcement or in the invite that you received today, there was 3 attachments. If you're able to open it up on your calendar, you'll see the PowerPoint along with 2 forms that you'll need to send your introductory email. So we'll go through it and I'll point out which are the forms that you'll see attached in the calendar invite, and then you'll know what they're associated with. But hi everyone, so exciting. Term 4 wrapping up and you're about to go into fieldwork. So this is probably going to be the biggest transition that you've had throughout your time at USA. You know, going in from an undergrad or maybe a master's in another program, another degree, but then transitioning into USA, you've learned to transition in that aspect of becoming a graduate student, but now you guys are all going to get ready to become future occupational therapists. So it does change a lot from what you've done in the curriculum to application-based, a lot more applying what you've learned. So it's exciting, but it is a big transition. So we want to help prepare you for as you transition into your sites and how to reach out. And we're going to give you advice into what to ask your fieldwork educator when you send your introductory email. So before we begin, everyone just needs to go into Exact and make sure that your information is up to date. So log on to Exact, make sure your phone number is correct, your current or your address, not so much your address, your phone number. Basically, we need your phone number. I'm gonna be very honest, a ton of times you're on site and we have to call you because of a certain situation, and sometimes you don't respond to your emails and it's something urgent, we can't email you, we have to talk to you right away. So please go on and update your information to Exact. I know you'll always say like, oh, that would never happen. It does. We do need to reach out to you. So we'll send you a text or a phone call and say like, we need to talk to you as soon as you get off site. So please just make sure it's up to date. All right. As everyone does that, we'll just keep going through the PowerPoint. So your fieldwork rotation, everyone knows they begin January 10th through April 1st. Some may have a modified schedule. That's based on your fieldwork or your site. So some sites may ask that the student starts a week later. They may have a student that's currently attending and they're wrapping up with one fieldwork student, or vacation. We're coming off the holidays. So some of your fieldwork educators may have been on vacation and they may have asked for a later start date. That's fine, because if you see that these are 12-week rotations, your fieldwork or your term is 15 weeks. So that does give us like a 3-week buffer in case your site requests a week later. You'll also see that if, let's say you're at a school, for example, or a pediatric site, a lot of them are closed for spring break. So then rather than you ending on the 4/1 date, they'll push you back 1 week because you have to do 12 full-time weeks. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but this is generic, the schedule that we have for the majority of the students. So you'll begin January 10th and then April 1st. And then your fieldwork 2B will start May 9th and now end July 29th. So you can write those days down. So what we're doing today, so the purpose of today's meeting is we're gonna tell you how to write your fieldwork 2A introductory email. This is your first impression email, how you're gonna introduce yourself to your fieldwork educator or your clinical coordinator if you haven't been assigned a fieldwork educator yet. We'll go over what typical fieldwork site requirements we see. So the university, we only require our medical requirements that you've done throughout the entire time at the curriculum. However, some sites may request additional. So we'll let you know what some of those fieldwork site requirements might be so that you can start thinking about and preparing. Site objectives, what site objectives are, what they mean, and then medical compliance. So your introductory email, you send these out 2 weeks before the start date. So we're meeting this week. We'll go ahead and by the end of Friday, I want everyone to have sent out their introductory email. So write that date down. Friday, your introductory email will be going out before Friday. So between now and Friday, you have. For your fieldwork 2B, we will meet again the week of March 7th. So there's no need, you're not sending your fieldwork 2B an introductory email. Okay, well, that's too far advanced. They're not even thinking about you. You haven't even been assigned to anybody. It's just your 2A right now. In your introductory email, that was attached to the invite. So, oh, you know what? It's in the invite, but we also have it over here. I'll show you in a little bit. But this is what the introductory email template looks like, and it's also attached to your to the email, and you can modify it and then submit it. So in that personal email, you're going to also include your personal data sheet, which is also attached. That's this one. So this one you can go in and put it in, and we'll go over what each one is. But that's what you're going to be sending on before the end of the day Friday. You're going to go into Exact and look for your fieldwork educator's information. Some of you may have a fieldwork educator, some of you may only have a clinical coordinator. Go ahead and send it. It just means that the site hasn't confirmed who your fieldwork educator will be. I think Ms. Thomas has been working on it and has gotten the majority of students with their assigned fieldwork educator. Some sites may have told her, we'll let you know a few weeks before who that is, just because they're looking through their organization and their changes and they haven't fully assigned a fieldwork educator to a student. If that's the case, you're just going to send it to the clinical coordinator. However, if you go on and you don't see anyone listed, contact Ms. Thomas and ask her, who do I send it to? All right. Any questions so far on who you're sending it to? Okay. All right. So for your introductory email, it's going to look like this. Don't send it as an attachment. This is actually going to be in an email. So we created this template for you because we want to make sure that you're presenting yourself very professional, okay? So when you're writing this, we want you to edit it specifically to your needs. So as you go through it, make all the changes you need to, edit it as needed. However, you do have a template to work off of. It's going to go in your email. Again, please don't send it as an attachment. It just doesn't look as professional or as welcoming if it's not in an attachment. So it'll be an email in the body. But some things to add is just as you're asking questions, just to remain professional, but we do suggest that you ask some of the onboarding requirements. So you can ask your fieldwork educator, like, what are some of the onboarding requirements required before I begin? If you haven't found any living accommodations, then is a good time to ask them, like, where are some living arrangements that students have used in the past? Do you have any recommendations on specific areas? And they'll be able to tell you a little bit more if they have that information. Dress code, what to wear prior to starting, what time you should show up, you know, those type, where do you park? Do you need to go, if it's a hospital, where are you going to get your ID badge? These are all the things that you want to know prior to starting. What should you prepare? Is there any specific curriculum information you would like me to review? So if you're going into a hand setting, they might tell you, we want you to review your anatomy, your goniometry. If you're going into a pediatric, they might tell you typical diagnoses you expect in pediatrics, along with assessments. So ask them, what would you like me to review prior to going? All right, this is the time to ask them all the questions you have about your site. All right, any questions on the introductory email? Is there anything else that you recommend, Dr. Fernandez, Dr. Bertrand, that they can include in that portion of questions? Nope, all right. Then this will be an attachment. So your personal data sheet, if you look at it, it gives them some information on who you are. So you've been able to look at the site, find out information. I'm sure you've done your investigating. You have Exact, so you can look at all the information students have done in the past. They don't know anything about you. They don't know what school, like what kind of let's see, the beginning part is your personal information. It just has your personal phone number, home address, all that. And then they want to know a little bit about your education. So what degree are you expecting to get? What year you plan on graduating? You should all have your current CPR, first aid, all that, and then your health information. And then there is one section that you get to put your previous work and volunteer. That's where you get to add your personal touch. They want to know a little bit about who you are as a student. A lot of times, I'll tell you right now, when I was a fieldwork educator, I wouldn't even know what university my student was coming from. It was just like, you will have a student, and I wasn't even aware of their name until they showed up on the day. That's at bigger hospitals, I will be honest. I didn't get an introductory email. I don't know if it's not common everywhere else. However, at the University of St. Augustine, we want you to introduce yourself to your fieldwork educator. So it's nice that you guys get to have your personal touch. So if you're going to pediatrics, put all the information of when you worked with a kid. If you babysat even a child, they want to know that information. If you're going into a hand placement and you're really into working out, or you have a background in exercise physiology, include that information, because they want to say like, oh, okay, that's their strengths. So really think about the setting that you're going to, and then say, do I have any of that experience? If you don't for that specific setting, just put all of your experience. When you're talking about your level ones, that's considered experience. Okay, so tell them if you're going, what your level one experiences have been also. So that's a nice area that you can include all of that. Any questions?
Sure, to be specific, so like all of you collectively, both flex and residential, all had pediatric telehealth experience for level one. So make sure to put that under the level one fieldwork, be specific. For the question in the chat, if the 4 of you that will be coming to us, you'd send your introductory email to myself and Dr. Paula.
Mm-hmm. All right. So
sorry, Dr. Paula, are we filling out 2 data sheets, like one for the first setting and one for our second setting?
We're only emailing your 2A right now.
Okay.
So you're not going to email your 2B just yet. So this will only be for today. We'll meet again 2 months before your 2B starts, and you'll do this all over again.
That's what I was going to mention now. Right now, what you all should be thinking about is just your 2A. When you are in fieldwork, we will have plenty of time that we will have a meeting just like this, and we will talk about the 2B. But right now, everything that we're sending is for your 2A.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. So for my 2A, I have 2 clinical instructors and a coordinator. Do I send them separate emails, or do I send them all one email and copy each of them on the same one?
One email and copy them all on it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyone else? All right. So there's certain scenarios you might run into. These are common ones that we've seen that students have emailed us after they sent their introductory email. So they send their introductory email to their fieldwork educator, and or some of you have already been in communication, right? How many of you have done an interview at the site already? Yeah, so you know who your fieldwork educator is. You're still gonna send them the email, okay? So we still send them the introductory email because it still gives you a chance to introduce yourself, give them all the information that they need, but also ask those questions about where do you show up on day 1. So again, you'll still send it. Another one is that some of you may email your fieldwork educator, and then they might say, oh, well, we want you to interview. Okay, it's part of their process. So again, you'll set up the interview with them. So don't, be nervous. Oh, I have to interview them. I wasn't sure. It's not on there. I didn't do it before. Just go through the process of whatever they say, okay, now we need you to interview with this person. And then your fieldwork educator doesn't respond. So if you send this out and your fieldwork educator doesn't respond 1 week later, go ahead and send the email again, okay? You don't have to be professional. We're not gonna say like, see below. Just resend the same email as though it's your first time. You're gonna see when you're out there in the clinic, you're not checking your emails. So remember, they're seeing patient after patient after patient. The email goes to the bottom of the list. At the end of the day, they're looking at what important emails have come in that they urgently need to respond to, and they may have just shuffled you through. So you'll just send the same email again. If 1 week after that, they still haven't responded, then you're gonna contact your AFWC and Ms. Thomas, okay? And let us know that, I've sent 2 emails and I haven't received a response. And then we'll contact them, and usually they're like, oh, just have the student call me. I mean, some sites are like that. They just don't do emails at all, and they're like, just have the student call me. So, but those are the ones that we normally see as responses to what students email us after they send the introductory email. All right. So some sites, like I mentioned, we have our own USA requirements. Some fieldwork sites have their own requirements. Some of those requirements may be that they want an updated background check, or they want a new drug screening. Now we're seeing a lot of sites want COVID vaccines. So whatever the site requires is under the responsibility of the student. So it's your role as a student and due diligence to complete the onboarding requirements for that site. That's what we mean by onboarding requirements. Some of them may have you take like a prep course, which is like a 4-hour video on PPE. They might have you do background check, all that information that they might ask you for again. So you can find some of this information if you go on to Exact. It's under requirements, notes for students. You have your site objectives and your site documents. Just keep in mind, we don't know, unless the site notifies us of changes in the onboarding, we wouldn't be aware of this. So we asked the site what the onboarding requirements are. However, you can imagine they change so quickly. So 1 week they can say one thing, and another week they have another process. That's fine. When you send your introductory email, that's why we ask you to please ask them what the onboarding requirements are. But this kind of gives you like a general idea of what students have had to do in the past, so you can start looking at what might be required of me. So let's say, for example, the site requires a background check, and they'll take one within the last 2 years. You all had to do a background check to come to the university. Do you remember that? You all had to do a drug screening to come. We as AFWCs, Ms. Thomas, we don't have access to that. You all uploaded it into Castle Branch though. So if you forgot, or you didn't save a copy, or you don't know what happened to it, if you log into your Castle Branch, you can download it and then send it to the site, and that might be what qualifies under their site requirements. Some may require that you just have it done within the last year, the last 3 months, whatever it may be. So you'll just go and ask them what their site requirements are. But if you do have any questions on it, just please contact us. Okay, so when you're doing the introductory email, you'll go ahead and ask them what the site requirements are and then follow up with it. Just be mindful, some of your sites may tell you like, this form goes to HR, this form goes to your fieldwork educator, this form, and they have various departments, especially if you're working in a big hospital, different departments do different things. So you might have your onboarding training with education, but all of your site requirements, like medical requirements, are through HR. So just keep track of, if they're telling you send it to one place, send it to that place. It's so massive. I'll tell you the ones that we usually see the biggest stall at is with hospitals, because it's not just OT students that they're accepting. It's OT, PT, nursing, residents. It's all of these students coming into the hospital that they're keeping track of. If you send it to the wrong person, they're not going to tell you you sent me the wrong information. They're just going to delete because it doesn't apply to them. So make sure you're reading the emails carefully and you're looking at, who do I need to send this document to? Okay, I sent it to the right person. Again, do not wait to submit this. We had so many students start with a delayed start date this term because they did not do their medical documents on time. A lot, like more. There should be no delayed start date. If you're doing this now, you should have it all done. Students waited too close to the start date. submitted it, and then were surprised when their fieldwork educator said you can't start. And then what happened was they were already living here, rent was paid, and they had to extend. So make sure you're looking at those site requirements. As soon as they send it to you, that this is what you need to be doing, you can already start doing it. Some of them you can already start to see what's required of you because it's already listed in exact. Start collecting that information, okay? If the site does, if you don't submit your stuff on time, just know that the site can refuse and decline your placement, all right? It doesn't look good professionally if a student can't even submit their documents on time. If I was a fieldwork educator, I would say, wow, this student already is coming across as a mess, did not submit things on time. So how is that going to translate when they come on fieldwork? And I'm asking them to submit their documents on time in SOAP notes and evals and just being organized at fieldwork. So they do have the right to decline your fieldwork placement at that time. So your site objectives. So site objectives are pretty much your goals. It's your syllabus basically at the site. It tells you what your expectations are on a week-to-week basis. So let me see, let me pull one up. So you can all see, let me see if I have the universities, hold on. Here we go. All right. This is for a different site, so this isn't our site objectives. But what it has is it'll have like week 1, and then it'll say everything that they expect to occur during week 1. Week 1 is usually a lot of like preliminary, like onboarding. Students gonna get a tour of the site. They're gonna be able to participate in structured clinical observations. We'll talk about different learning styles. But then as you see, you go into like week 3. Continue caseload growth, targets 50 to 60%. Oh, this is a different one. This was this is gonna be a little bit different because these were 2 6-week rotations. So the student was already expected to do more by week 3. But you'll see like as the university site objectives grow or extend, as you go through the weeks, your expectations grow into entry level. So by the time, let's say this was week 12 instead of week 6, you'll have met all the week objectives. You'll pretty much have a passing score. This is week 5, continue with caseload and treatment plan, interventions documentation. But as you can see, it's just a week by week play of what the expectations are for the student. Okay? That's going to be in Exact. If you log on to Exact and you don't see site objectives, please, you're gonna contact me or Dr. Bertrand. So for residential students, you'll send me an email. If you go on right now and you don't see it, please send me an email tonight. I don't see my site objectives uploaded. I will then contact your fieldwork educator and ask them if they would like to use the university site objectives or if they have their own, and then I'll upload it into Exact for you. For the flex students, you'll contact Dr. Bertrand. All right, questions on site objectives?
Just to confirm, this would only be if we don't see site objectives for
2A.
2A.
Yep, 2A only.
But however, the 4 of you that will be coming with us to Great Heights, you're in a different scenario. Just hold off until tomorrow's meeting with the 2 of us.
We have to make
It's a little bit different, yeah.
Another. But so site objectives, review them, okay? They are pretty much telling you what your expectations are at the site. When we talk before you go on fieldwork, we're gonna tell you in the next meeting, you'll have one more meeting before you start. We're gonna tell you and emphasize so much on how important it is to meet on a week by week basis to just go over your site objectives with your fieldwork educator, making that time, making that schedule, knowing when they say that you're going to be doing 3 evaluations the following week, expect to do 3 evaluations by yourself the following week, okay? That's on you to prepare and make sure that you are meeting the expectations of the site objectives, okay? So go over it, review it, print it out, have it on you in a binder that you carry around. Okay, medical compliance. So Ms. Abia Gra will send out, if you haven't received an email then you're good for 2A. If you are receiving an email saying that you're behind in your medical records, you will go on medical hold on November 17th. That means you can't register for your Fieldwork 2A course. Okay. If you haven't received any information from her, you're pretty much good to go. You're within compliance for your 2A. If, for example, if you are behind and you go on medical hold, then your site is canceled because we can't send the student out onto fieldwork if you have a USA medical hold. You can't register for the course. Some of you have been in conversation with Ms. Abhi Agrawal, and you've explained to her that you're going to have something submitted or you already have an appointment, and she will make note of it. Okay, so that's a different scenario. So if you receive the email from her, search, if you want, search in your most recent emails for her name just to make sure you have not received an email from her, because that will cancel your fieldwork placement. We cannot send you on site if you are on medical hold. If you have contacted her, that's fine. She's already told you a different date on when you can submit something because of a personal circumstance, you can't get an appointment, everything. You need to have inform her of that as soon as possible. So go into your most current emails and just make sure she has not. She has sent, if you've been in, if you're gonna have something expiring during 2A, she sends you a 90-day email, a 60-day email, and a 30-day email saying that on this date, November 17th, you will go on medical hold. That means you've had 90 days from the first email to clear it up, okay? Because we always get students saying, I did not know. And I'm like, how did you not see 3 emails coming in saying you're going on medical hold? So look through your email. Do not ignore those emails from her.
You also should have gotten an email from us. So if you're Flex, I already emailed, Dr. Paula emailed those in residential. So you've had 4 emails. So get it done. It gets really awkward and uncomfortable on our end when we have to send emails again and again and again. And they're being really strict with medical compliance this time around because of the amount of difficulties and issues that have come up on the student end with them not getting it done on time.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I have a question.
yes, Angeline.
So, okay, so say like, for example, in my case, I have a full-time job. My insurance is through my full-time job. So once I leave my full-time job, which will be in the end of December, I would have to get new insurance. So that's going to be like not complying to medical records for me not having insurance.
That's a question for Abhi.
Yeah, and it's not, you have to understand it's not an issue of non-compliance, guys. Okay, so let's because you have to understand what it really means. Okay, the university has a contract with these facilities, and we are telling these facilities, the university, from a legal aspect, is saying we are going to send you these students to, let's see, Baptist, and the student will have all these, including insurance. And they say, okay, we'll do a contract with you guys and we will take your student. So it's a contract. It's a legal agreement. So yes, what I would recommend is if you are gonna have that issue that you're not gonna be working as of December, therefore you have to enroll in a new insurance, I think you better start looking at that new insurance as of November, what's going to happen, because new open enrollment starts now, I think, in November for all insurances, I think, for all insurance, all those health, Obamacares, all those insurances, it starts now in November. And it takes quite a while for it to transition. So, and you need to have that document, that information in your exact and all your required documents way before you start clinical rotations. So, yeah.
Email her now.
Yeah, email her now because you need to make sure that there's no gaps. Again, we do not want to risk a facility saying, you know what, if this student can't get it together, we're taking another student. That's how it goes.
So like for me, I turned 26 in October, and so now I'm on Florida state insurance. So once I can't get new state insurance until I move to my 2A placement, which is going to be Georgia. So like I have already looked at getting Georgia insurance, but I can't technically get it until I have a place to live. So is that just something I should email her as well? To make
Yeah.
sure that's all.
We don't know like what the rhyme or reason or how they handle that. She knows all things medical compliance. If you haven't received an email though, there was a question in the chat from Ms. Agrawal, Abhi Agrawal, or Dr. Paula if you're residential, or myself for Flex, then you should be good to go. Meaning all your documents are up to date for fieldwork.
Yeah, and and also the other intention is that if something, God forbid, but if something should happen in fieldwork, so it's an agreement with it. Something should happen to you in fieldwork, that you remember, you guys are not an employee, although you have to follow all the rules and regulations of the facility. You are not their employee. So if something should happen to you in the hospital, in the clinic, wherever you're at, they need to make sure that you have the means of going to the hospital, that you have the means of having medical care, that they are not responsible and they will not be held responsible for taking care of your medical needs.
All right, and let's see, there were a few questions. Catherine asked if there's not an OT on site, do we send the email to our clinical coordinators? I believe this was from earlier, but yes, you do. There's a private, so in the data form, it says something about a time shot. Is that different from the two-step PPD test? Dr. Fernandez, you know, I don't know.
I don't know, what is that?
On the personal data sheet?
Yeah.
I don't know. You sure it's not a titer?
It was on the personal data sheet under where you put your insurance information, and it asks for a date of your last time test, and then or a chest X-ray.
Okay, so it has to be PPD.
Oh,
So it has to be PPD. So it has to be the tuberculosis test.
Okay.
Oh, yes, TB.
It's a tuberculosis test. So some of you guys probably, if you cannot take the TB test or the underneath the subcutaneous skin, then you have to have a chest X-ray done.
Okay. If the setting already reached out and said to contact clinical instructor at a certain date, should I wait to send them the introductory email? Yes, you can send it if they already told you a date when to send the introductory email, especially, I remember she emailed me asking me for your contact information. That's fine. She's already been in contact. You can then go ahead during that date that she gave you, send out your introductory email.
Additionally, if your fieldwork educator has already reached out and you've been going back and forth with information, just make sure to please send them your personal data sheet and CC Ms. Thomas.
Again, all emails have to be extremely professional. So we don't send emails with the title saying, hey, how are you? How are you guys doing? Oh, no. Okay, address them to who they are as if it was a professional email.
All right. Any other questions regarding medical? So attendance policy. So students are expected to attend 100% of their fieldwork dates. I don't know, some students say that they have they're given 2 days to take off. That's not in the policy. You're expected to attend 100% of the dates. However, there are times where emergencies do occur. We've had students with family members that have passed away and they've had to take some time off. If a student's been sick of COVID, especially with COVID now, we've had students that have had to take some time off. So given that, you have to complete a minimum of 12 weeks. But for example, if there was a death in the family, you were sick and had to take time off, and you missed 2 days, it's at the discrepancy of your fieldwork educator if and how you make up those days. So some sites may say, nope, you don't have to make up the date. Some sites may say, I need you'll add on hours at the end of the days next week, or however many days they need. Some may say that you have to come in on a Saturday and go with another occupational therapist. It's at their discrepancy on how you make up those days. So we do not schedule. We're not like, oh, we're going to contact your fieldwork educator and tell them how you are making up those days. It's at their discrepancy. That's a conversation you have to have with your fieldwork educator. There is a form you'll fill out that will show you during the next meeting that we have, but that's the form you would fill out just saying what happened in your conversation. So you missed a day. Did your fieldwork educator excuse it and say how you're making up the day? And then you'll upload it into Exact. You'll tell us, and we will sign the form approving it if you provide the right documentation. So
Right.
again, is that the discrepancy of your fieldwork educator? If you miss 3 or more days, that week is not considered a full week. That means we have to add on a week at the end to make up that date, okay, or that time. That's a conversation that you can have with your fieldwork educator, but we will also email your fieldwork educator after you've had that conversation to verify your new end date, because we have to change it in Exact to show what your new end date is going to be so that they get all their forms correctly. Again, that's something we'll go over again when we discuss the introductory like the Blackboard meeting that we will have to go over the course. But just keep in mind, you are expected to go and attend every single day of your fieldwork site. If your fieldwork educator works 5 10-hour days, you're working 5 10-hour days. It's not we go 8 to 3 and you leave and your fieldwork educator stays. You follow their schedule. Some of them work 4 days, 4 10. Some of them work Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 12-hour days. You just follow their schedule. Holidays. So if the site is closed for a holiday, you don't have to make up the date. So if they're closed for Veterans Day coming up, students wouldn't have to make up the date. If schools that are on spring break, so some of you might be in the school system or your pediatric site might close for the entire week, we would then have to add on a week at the end, so you have the 12 full weeks. Teacher work days, you would not need to make up. And in the event that there's a snow day or hurricane day, well, you guys may have some snow days, hopefully not any hurricane days in spring, but if there was a snow day, if there's 2 days that were missed, you don't have to make it up. However, if it was 3 days, we would have to make those 3 days up. So you follow the schedule, you'll see, you just follow, you're no longer in, you're not following the USA schedule. I know some, like, you can look and you have spring blink. You guys don't have spring blink off anymore. You follow the site schedule. So if you have any questions about medical compliance, this is the sheet as to who you contact when you have a question. Medical compliance, you'll contact Avi Agrawal. If you have questions regarding your fieldwork site requirements, so if you go into Exact and something's not correct, or you have a question, you'll contact Ms. Suzanne Thomas. If you have any questions about your fieldwork academics, the online course, we're going to go over the online course before you begin fieldwork, your fieldwork or your fieldwork schedule. So if you've had to miss days you need to make up, you'll contact myself, Dr. Bertrand, are your leads for the yellow cohort, and then you also have Dr. Fernandez that you can always contact as a resource also. If for site objectives, you would contact us also, myself and Dr. Bertrand, to tell us you don't have site objectives. So our next meeting, I keep talking about that next meeting that we have, it's your online fieldwork prep meeting. We also go over like professionalism before you begin fieldwork. And what we see a lot as the reason students aren't successful in fieldwork. So we'll go over how to be successful and give you the kind of the alarms that we see fieldwork educators calling us and telling us this student can no longer be on site. We don't do it to scare you, we do it because we want you to be successful. So if you're aware that previous students have been removed from their site for certain reasons, we're hoping that you all can be prepared so you don't make the same mistake. Learn from your peers. So we will talk about that professionalism, the keys to success in fieldwork. We'll go over your Blackboard course and the expectations for the course and the AOTA midterm and final, because you are scored, you're passing scores based on your fieldwork, the AOTA final. So you definitely want to know what's on there and what areas they're looking at. You're going to receive an email from us. It's usually the Thursday or Friday before the term starts, because once you go out in fieldwork, scheduling a meeting is so difficult because we have students in California, we have students all over. So 5 p.m. West Coast time isn't till 8 p.m. this time. And we don't want to meet on a Monday after your first day of fieldwork at 8 p.m. or even 9 p.m. because they don't get out till 6 p.m. So we will be meeting the Thursday or Friday before the term starts. It's usually earlier in the day, so it's not an evening course because students aren't working and there's no class going on. So just kind of like keep a tentative holding spot for those days. But it will be, if we start on the 10th, it will be maybe the 6th or the 7th, I believe, are the dates.
We also, for those MOT students, this is direct, so MOT Flex, MOT Residential, we also have an MOT seminar meeting. So usually we'll have like on that Thursday, let's say fieldwork 2A meeting for everybody. And then that Friday, MOT seminar students will also have a separate meeting for the coursework as well. So just block off those 2 days.
And the doctoral students will have their own meeting with their doc courses, their OTD courses. And then lastly, so you have a to-do list. I made it real clear so you could just write this all down. Leaving this meeting, you are going to focus this week on sending your introductory email with the attached personal data sheet by Friday, okay? In that, you're gonna CC, when you send the introductory email, you're gonna CC Ms. Thomas and also your AFWC. So you can CC myself and Dr. Bertrand, depending if you're residential or flex, right? Review your site objectives. Print them out and already have them on you. If you don't have them, you're going to email myself and Dr. Bertrand. Begin the onboarding requirements. So send out your email, but if you saw an exact that they require background checks, all that information, start collecting those documents. Copy of your insurance card, all of that. So when they say this is what we need for you to send to HR, you can send it, because this is what always is a holdup. Students will send it right before their fieldwork start is. HR has their own process. It's not that you're the only student that sends them an email and they look and they say, oh, this student has been approved. They have their own process, and their process can take weeks. So it's not just you submitted it before your fieldwork started. You did not submit it in time that they can finish out their process. So again, start collecting all that. So when they say send your information to this specific person, you can go ahead and forward it as soon as possible so that they can begin their process. And then just make sure you're in compliance with medical records. So if Abby Agrawal has reached out to you, make sure that you have everything submitted before that November 17th date. And any questions? Quiet, nervous, lots of stuff?
They're tired. They had a really long day. All of them.
All right, well, I mean, if we don't have questions, you always have our emails. Just send us an email. I'm sure when you send your introductory email, that's when we usually get the flood of emails from students. Should we have, what do you mean by site required? So Gabrielle, some of your sites may have told us and it's uploaded in exact. Some sites don't inform us of site requirements, so it wouldn't be uploaded. But when you send your introductory email, you'll ask what the site requirements are. Also, some may have sent us some that they don't use anymore. Like it could be outdated, old. They don't update it every single time they say yes to taking a student. It can be from 3 years ago and they just haven't told us, oh, we changed the site requirements. But not all of you might have it because it's only if the site tells us this is our requirements.
Site objectives, though, you should have all. If you don't, then you email us because they should all be in there.
All right, well, if you do have questions, you'll have the rest of your night and you can think and reflect and then send us an email if you have any questions. But good luck rest of the term, because now we probably won't see you until the new year. So, well, you'll see Dr. Fernandez, but for the residential students, but you won't see myself and Dr. Bertrand unless you're in passing. You could just wave, say hi, or just say hi to us. Come stop into our pediatrics class. All right, bye everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
They have,
Thank you.
they have the boot camp, don't they?
Oh,
Yeah, but
yes, we have
they haven't finalized.